I'm Siobhan Blake with LifePoint Real Estate, and I'm thrilled to have you join us for a conversation about an incredible program that's making a real difference in our community. Today, we're spotlighting Families Flourish, a new and innovative initiative that's improving the outcomes for children and parents by creating opportunities for residential and financial stability. I'm joined today by Shiloh Todorov, the Development and Communications Director at Families Flourish, and also we're very lucky to have Sherilyn with us today, who will share her personal experience with the program. Before we dive into this discussion today, Shiloh, could you please share with us how somebody could get in touch with you to learn more about this program?
Sure, and thank you. The best way to learn more about Families Flourish is at our website, familiesflourish.org. And in particular, if you know someone or are someone who's interested in taking part in the program, go to the Apply button. If you are someone who is interested in volunteering or helping us grow in Central Ohio, then go to the Support Us. There's ways to be part of the team there.
So thank you, Shiloh. We'll make sure to include that information in the show notes so that our listeners can easily find it. Now, let's get on to the conversation. Shiloh, let's start with you. What exactly is Families Flourish, and how does the program work?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting Sherilyn and I to tell you a little bit about Families Flourish. We are very excited to be a part of it. Families Flourish is a 3-year program that is built to help families reach housing stability and financial stability. It's actually a unique program in the country. We were developed and piloted at Ohio State University in the City and Regional Planning School at Knowlton, and it combines rent support. As you would know as a realtor, right? People are really interested in the kinds of amenities that their neighborhood can offer, right? Is it near their job? Does it have a great school for their children? Are there playgrounds and recreation nearby? But a lot of those amenities are only available to people with some means and some wealth, right? So Columbus, Ohio happens to be the second most economically segregated city in the country.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so we are trying to essentially open the gates of some of those disinvested communities to allow people access to the amazing neighborhoods in Central Ohio. We do that with partial rent support. So over the course of the program, 3 years, families get $500 a month of rent support for the first 18 months of the program, and then $400 for the second 18 months, which allows them access to some of those higher resource neighborhoods, but still within their affordability range. Then, once they're more stably housed, we pair them one-on-one with a life coach who works with them to figure out, okay, what are my goals? What are my financial goals? What are the skills that I need in order to reach those financial goals? Maybe it's improving a credit score or learning to budget. A big piece of it is probably thinking about career and whether or not there's some education or certification or licensing that would allow you to get a more economically stable job. So that's a piece of the coaching. But then it's also health and wellness, right? If you've got children and you're too stressed out to be able to pour into yourself, how can you pour into your children, right? So there's a big piece of mindfulness and other kinds of health and wellness. And then the third leg of the stool is programs. Our families are required to attend monthly programs. They essentially create a cohort of 16 to 18 that come in a group. And they're working on the same things that they're working on with their coaches, but they're hearing from outside experts. And I think more importantly, they're forming the bonds and the trust and really teaching each other as they all go through this together. So that's how it works, and I think one of the key takeaways from the OSU pilot, which included 10 families, Sherilyn was among them, they were able to raise their incomes an average 58%, which was about $17,000, which meant that at the end of the program, everyone was able to take on that market rate rent on their own if they chose to stay right in the apartment that they wanted to stay there in. Additionally, we saw huge gains in mental health and physical health, credit scores that rose by more than 100 points.
Wow.
So we know this works, and now we're on the path to growing from that initial 10 to serving 100.
Those sounds like some really incredible outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm cognizant have all those things feed upon one another. Once you've got some financial stability or some residential stability, how it impacts all the other things.
Right.
So that's really remarkable. Well, thank you. So, Sherilyn, if you don't mind, I wanted to ask you, how is your family different from where you started 5 years ago? What kind of outcomes have you seen as a participant in the program?
Well, as Shiloh said, I was one of the people who raised my credit score. I also was able to sustain where I stayed, as Shiloh mentioned. I was able to sustain that market rent, and not only that, I was able to move to another environment where I could also increase my rent. So my child and I are thriving right now. We're just looking forward to seeing what's coming next. Always looking forward to what's next. Right now, I am just finished up classes for real estate.
I did not know this. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll talk afterwards.
Looking forward to it. My daughter is going to Hilliard schools right now. She really likes it, and we're kind of having fun enjoying the neighborhood, the environment, the sense of community that we didn't have in the inner city necessarily. We can walk outside the door, just go out on the main road and have access to almost everything. So we get to utilize these resources we learned about with the coaching that we got during the program. And it's very fun and interesting to actually be able to use those resources and see how they can work to your benefit. And so we're pretty much just enjoying life right now.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I can understand how having residential stability really gives you a lot of peace, right? It's just one less thing for all of us to be worried about if we're not juggling that.
Yeah, it's a real calming feeling that you get when you realize you wake up and you don't have to worry about the stressors of outside of your door. You know, you're just kind of pretty much trying to figure out how to maneuver in your new area, your new space, and you feel like you can breathe a little bit better. Literally and figuratively, you know, like the air is cleaner, and then I can just take a sigh of relief knowing I can just let my daughter go outside and play. And that's a lot. It's a lot off of your shoulders.
Yeah. And in truth, that's probably something that I've always taken for granted as well, that my children could just, walk out the door and I wouldn't have to be overly concerned about what they were up to or where they were headed.
Right. Well, just imagine if every time your child wanted to go outside, you're like, no matter what you were doing, because kids always like to play, just imagine if you had to actually go out there, sit there all the time and couldn't focus on anything else. You want your kids to just be able to be kids and just play and not worry about being hurt or getting hit by a car, or getting, gunshots or, littering on the side of the street. You don't have to worry about that. So it's a lot better. It's a really good feeling, actually.
Sherilyn, since you've had the support and the tools of Families Flourish and you're now a graduate, where do you see yourself going in the next 5 years?
Well, hopefully soon I will be a graduate of Honduras College and taking my exam for real estate. And I'm just looking forward to where that could possibly take me, because as I was going through this journey with real estate, I noticed it's a big umbrella. It's a very big umbrella with lots of options underneath it, and I can pretty much go anywhere with this. And so I'm really excited about that, and possibly mixing that with a communications degree, hopefully, and seeing how those two things pair together. And as far as my daughter, right now we're at a transition stage. She's really excited about a lot of stuff, and I'm learning a lot about her right now. So this year she'll be in the 6th grade.
Middle school.
Yeah, and for the first time ever, she wants to do choir. That should be interesting, because I've never heard her sing anything other than Taylor Swift. But it'll be fun and exciting. Every year it's something different, something new. One year she took Chinese classes. Last year she did Girls on the Run.
Oh, that's a great program.
Yeah, and she really enjoyed that. And so then this year we're doing choir, and we're going to see where that goes. And, with her being a preteen, there's a lot to explore with that.
Yes, that is true. So I'm curious, prior to you coming into this program with your cohort, do you think your daughter would have had those opportunities? Would she have had opportunities with Girls on the Run or choir or taking Chinese? Would those have been available to her?
As far as I know, the schools that she was in, they didn't even offer it. So that was interesting. If I wanted something like that for her, that's something I would have had to figure out, once again, knowing my resources, to figure out how to get her into that. And the hard part about knowing your resources or not knowing your resources is you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So how am I supposed to use my resources or utilize them at all if I don't even know what they are or that they're even available, and they don't tell you a lot about them being available? So I'm just happy right now in this space that I have the opportunity. I have learned how to speak up. Speaking up a lot. They say closed mouths don't get fed. Speaking up a lot opens up a lot of doors, which is how I ended up in the program in the first place. So.
And was that a skill that you took away from your mentorship in the program?
Yes. Like I said, I started out joining the program by word of mouth, just saying I needed to get out of my situation, and better the life of my daughter. And I didn't know what that meant. At the time, I just knew it was something that needed to happen. I didn't know who to talk to, and I was just pretty much complaining to my friends. And then I finally complained to the right one. And next thing I know, I was filling out an application for the program, and I learned so much. I grew so much as a person. I learned how to be a better mom. My daughter has learned how to stand on her own 2 feet. And we just are excited about the things that we have learned, because now it just comes with ease to just go ahead and apply these things. Down something as simple as grocery shopping, or getting your credit together, or asking the right questions. And if you are having a hard time, it doesn't make you a bad person, a bad parent. You just got to know your resources, and you can always better your situation. You can always turn your situation around, and that is what is so exciting about this program, because honestly, I don't know if they set out to do that when they started this. I think it was to help families, but I don't think they understood, because we didn't even understand all the ways we could be helped and what we needed. And that was really great, doing the survey, so that they learned about us and what we needed as individuals or as parents. The questions that a lot of people weren't asking. You get funding for certain things, but for what? What do you know what I mean? Like, how are they applying these funds to these communities? And we learned a lot about just how to help individuals and help them as parents, when a lot of people don't even know how to ask the certain questions, the right questions. So instead they said, what do you need? Not, this is what we're giving you. So that was pretty cool.
It's very inspiring listening to you. It really is. Thank you for that. Shiloh, it seems like Sherilyn and her family has had some really terrific outcomes with this program, and I'm curious, is that the case with most of the families in the program?
Well, I have to take this opportunity to say how proud we are. I personally am of both Sherilyn and her daughter. No program is perfect. We are currently serving 63 families on our way to, by April of next year, we'll have 100 families in the program.
Wow.
But we accepted applications from 66, right? So not everybody makes it to graduation. That's a pretty great track record so far, but we know we're going to have stumbles of our own. Families are going to have stumbles of their own along the way. I have to tell you though, we had more recent OSU research from our groups that began in August of 2022 and April of 2023 that were released in the spring. And when you think about the $17,000 growth over the pilot 3 years of the program, 2/3 of this group have already improved their average income by $10,000, and the remaining third were in classes or licensure programs such as Sherilyn's. So we really like the path that this growth is showing us. And I have to just share one anecdote. A woman from Sherilyn's class had entered the program. I spoke to her. She sometimes speaks with me as well. So we were prepping for a speech that we were going to give. And she was recounting to me that she had come into the program as a home health aide, pays about $12 an hour, right? She saw, like Sherilyn did, how her children were thriving in their new school district. They were getting access to resources they need. They were getting up to grade level in terms of reading and math. And so she realized, I'm going to have to change my economic situation so that we can stay in the school district until these boys graduate. So during the course of the program, she got her commercial driver's license, which like tripled her income. She was trucking Pepsi around the 270, right?
Okay.
And what she surprised me with in April when we were prepping for this speech, she said, "You're not going to believe what's next." I said, "Well, tell me." She said, "Well, I was getting kind of beat up by moving all the Pepsi, right? I was spending 1 day a week in physical therapy, and I thought maybe I need to reassess." So I just asked the question, I opened my mouth, right, and said, "What does it take to get one of those reported 6-figure jobs that's coming to Intel," right? And somebody said, "Oh, there's a 6-month course you can take through Columbus State." So she's in it now.
That's fascinating.
She said, "I didn't learn to truck as it's part of Families Flourish. I learned that I can do anything I set my mind to." So I decided to set my mind to 6 figures.
I love that.
I know, it's so inspiring.
Yes, that is.
Yeah, so we have big hopes for our families, and to their credit, we're just putting resources in front of them. They are doing all of the work, right? They are really putting their goals in place and doing the work to make them come true. So we intend to continue to grow that number of families that we can serve because they're really going on to do great things.
So as we wrap this up, Sherilyn, I have one other question for you. What advice would you give to folks or other people who are considering this program?
Well, as Shiloh said, they put the resources in front of us, but we do the work. You have to be prepared to do the work. If you want to see a change, you have to make that happen. And you will see a change if you start to work and you put in the work and you just do the simple things that are asked of the program, which really is not a lot. They're not taxing, they're not parenting you or anything. They're just there to support and help you. And the thing is, they're trying to hold your hand. You know, they're walking with you. They're going through this journey with you. You're not doing anything necessarily by yourself. They're there to guide you. So just be prepared to do the work. And also, there's no way you could possibly prepare for whatever outcome comes from this, but be prepared for a change to happen. And I think that's very important because some people, when change happens, I was one of those people there for a little bit. When change happens, you don't know what to do. You know, like you come from these neighborhoods and you're not used to, once you move, how to say hi to your neighbor. That sounds normal to a lot of people. I spent a lot of my life trying to avoid my neighbors. So I think it's pretty awesome, and you just gotta be prepared. Recognizing that you need to, the reasons why you want to change your situation, that was the hard part. To admit that my life isn't where it needs to be right now. Because then you have to face what it is that you're trying to change. That's harder than actually applying, because once you have accepted that part, applying becomes the easiest thing, because you're like, okay, I'm ready to do this. I need this to happen. But until you can actually admit to yourself, the way I'm living isn't right, that's the hardest part.
That sounds like it could take a lot of courage to make that decision, to make that realization.
And then how many people can you share that with too? That's another thing, because once you make that decision, once you change your life, especially when we have children, we all tend to usually come with some sort of a village, whether they're friends or family or what I like to call family. We all have that village. So they're going to have an input, and you don't have to take everybody's advice. I'm not saying that, but you have to understand that what you're doing is not just affecting you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just affecting your children. We want it to affect you and your children, of course, but what you're doing is not just for you. It's for all the people around you, all the eyes around you, because you might be an inspiration to somebody that you didn't even know. And I like to tell that when Shiloh and I go out, I try to tell people, I've inspired other people in my life. People who are older than me, like older family members, younger family members, they see that I've changed. They see that I made a change. They see that I am now fearless in my change. And they're like, oh, well, I want to do that. And there are people now saying, hey, how do I apply?
Mm-hmm.
What did you have? And, some people, I will tell them, I don't think you're ready. not to discourage anyone, but in order to do this, you got to put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're just saying, like, I want rental assistance, it's not for you.
Thank you both for joining me today and sharing both your insight and your experience with the program. It's clear that Families Flourish is really creating some meaningful change in our community. I'm so glad that we were able to highlight your work and your journey in this program. For our listeners who want to learn more or to simply get involved, we'll have more information in the show notes. Until next time, take care and thank you.